Hello everybody, Mannix here. I just figured I'd do a quick video showing all of the folding knives I own, or at least almost all of them. There's a handful in my car, there's some in just a couple different spots of the house, but the ones I'm not showing are not the most expensive or the most amazing knives either. There's a reason they're in arbitrary spots in my life, some in my car, some in other spots of the house, etc. Just figured I'd do a quick video showing all of the knives I own. It is late October 2021 as I am filming this. Here's going to be pretty much all the folders I have. It's very off the cuff, probably not even going to edit this, so it's probably going to be dumb. But let's start with the cheapies. First we have this one. I keep it simply just because it has some sentimental value to me. Bass Pro Shops Rewards. Back when I worked at Bass Pro Shops, I was in the fishing and marine department. I guess they were doing these little, like, not really a contest, but just sort of like a drawing. And I happened to win this. It's probably just like a $5 knife. It has wooden handle scales right here. It actually feels really nice. It's smooth. That's nice texturing right here. The classic phallic tip-down pocket clip, although it is lube over, it does actually function very well. Not swappable at any side. I have some pretty good thumb studs here too. Never did a review on this, probably never will. If you can tell me what this knife is in particular, like what the model name is, if somebody can find this, please tell me. I'm just dying to know. It just looks like they just stamped their logo on their Bass Pro Shops, as you can see there. Great store, great place to work for. I just haven't worked there in a while. I never did a review on this, probably never will, but it's nice, actually a functional knife. Haven't used it very much, but I keep it just because it has sentimental value to me, because I used to work there. So there you go, that's the Bass Pro knife. Next cheapie, we have the MTech MX8018, I believe. I can annotate it if it's different. By the way, this is in 1080p, it's not in 4K. My last few videos I have done in 4K, but my editing software has just had way too many problems processing it, so just back to 1080p, keeping things simple, whatever. This one also has some sentimental value to me. It is an MTech. MTech's one of the lowest tier companies out there. They're like the sub $10 tier knife company. Very cheap knives, but you do kind of get what you pay for, you know. But their lockups usually aren't great. They fall apart sometimes if you use them too hard. Their blade steels are just subpar. They're not great knives. But when I was a kid, when I was first getting into knives, MTech was my go-to. Because, oh man, I could totally save up for that $12 knife right there. It looks so cool. I like this one because it was a rescue folder. Like there's no tip here. I like this serration pattern because it's something you can actually resharpen. Not that it's a good blade steel, and not that you should even try with a cheap knife like this. But you got like that symbol right there. I can't remember what that stands for. It is adjustable. Here we have a seatbelt cutter, a glass breaker. It is liner lock. I Loctited this thing and tightened it down, so it actually has a solid lockup now, and it's actually very smooth. It feels pretty good in the hand. I like these anodized, not anodized, I forget what it's called. Yeah, anodized orange aluminum handles right here. It's very friendly rescue looking knife. It's cheap, but I think it would get the job done in the pinch. Just a long time ago when I saw this, I knew I wanted one. It's actually a pretty cool design. It's well executed for what it is. I just keep it for sentimental purposes as well. Cheap pocket clip. Again, phallic. And also, it's actually almost the same design as the one on the Bass Pro one. Huh. Go figure. Next up, another sentimental knife to me. Oh wow, you can even see the quality right there. Doesn't even flick out very well because it's just not very well executed. The MTech Mt129. This was one of the first knives I ever wanted when I was first getting into knives next to the MX8018, whatever that one's called. I love Arctic camo. I love Tonto blades. I liked how it has seatbelt cutter and a glass breaker on it. Total gimmick pretty much, but you know, when I was young at the time, like 12, 13 years old, when I saw this thing, I was like, whoa. That's what I love, because I love Arctic camo. I've always loved Arctic camo. I still do today. And it's actually a pretty cool looking knife for what it is. Again, like 12 bucks you can get these things. It is functional. It'll function as a defense knife if you need it to. It's extremely heavy. It's like 9 ounces or something. One of my first knives ever, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. It's not that heavy, actually. No, this is actually a very heavy folder for what you're getting. But it's cool. It's really smooth. And again, if you Loctite it in your hand, you kind of adjust things yourself. You can make it a pretty decent knife, although it was a really stupid pivot screw right there. You got to use like a screwdriver, some makeshift tool to tighten it down. But it feels higher quality than it really is, you know? It's just another sentimental knife to me. Drop down pocket clip right there, which is not great. But it's got all the bells and whistles you need for a tough guy's cheapo folding knife. So now moving up in the tier list right here, we have the Ozark Trail brand. This is the Walmart brand. I think they're like $3.97 or $3.87 or something. With tax, you're spending usually less than a $5 bill, usually around $4. They're the best. Ozark Trail are pretty much the best $4 folders in the world, period. Their blade steels are okay, but the lockups and their designs overall, like you really can't go wrong with these knives. This one I got because I was just curious about it, because I got this knife a long time ago. And I just got this one. This one's just okay. This one has a long name. I can't even remember what it's called. Who cares? Again, it's that same pocket clip. It is functional, but it's just weird looking to me. Whatever. It looks like it's stonewashed, actually. The blade's in satin. Kind of like almost a honeycomb FRN pattern we have right here in the handle. It's kind of awkward. It's not super comfortable. The choil right here is kind of weird, but you can choke up on it. We have some unsuccessful jimping right here. Kind of reminds me of the Cold Steel Tough Light jimping pattern, but even worse. It's a thumb stud and it's a thumb hole. Yeah. But I do use this, as you can see all the crappy residue on there. It is a very user-friendly knife when it comes to cutting things I don't want to gunk up my better knives with, so it's functional. Again, never laugh at a cheap knife. A lot of people are like, you can't carry that, or you can't collect those. Those are cheap. BS. You can totally collect cheap knives if you want. There's plenty of reasons. I'm not going to get into that for this video. But no, cheap knives are absolutely functional. They may not be as functional as the more expensive knives, but they're still knives for the most part. Here we have one of my favorite cheap knives ever. Again, it's another Ozark Trail, same brand as this guy right here. Can't remember the name of it, but this is easily one of the... This is their best knife they've ever made. It's really over the quality. Again, for less than a $5 bill. I don't think you can get these anymore, but I remember I got one. I can't remember what happened to it. I think I took it apart and I couldn't put it back. I can't remember. Long story. It was gone. I wanted another one. Walmart no longer was selling this one, so I actually went online and found it for like $9, and I bought it still. This knife easily could fetch like a $25 price tag, but it's less than $5. We have a stonewash finish on the blade here, which is a pretty good drop point design. The thumb studs are good. We have a flipper. G10. Yes, a G10 handle scales. It is stainless steel liners. Decent pocket clip right here. Lockup's very good. It's pretty sharp for what it is. The jimping up here is good. There's jimping on the liners down here. There's a lot of attention to detail. The fit and finish overall is good, except for the liner. You can see right there. If Benchmade made this knife, they could easily fetch like $80 for this thing. I'm not kidding. It's not amazing or anything, but for the money, it's one of the best folders in the world for less than a $5 bill, and that's why I like this one. Has some value to me. All right, moving on. We're moving up in the tier list. We went from who knows what to MTech to Ozark Trail. Now we're at Schrade. Schrade used to be kind of a company nobody talked about, but since 8 years ago or so, they were taken over, and they started trying some new innovative things, like this big ol' custom looking frame lock right here. It mimics like a titanium frame lock knife, the SCH 301. This is the older design model, and there's some rust speckling on there because it's all bead blasted. I use this knife a lot, and I haven't sharpened it in a long time. Wow, it looks terrible. I really got to clean this up. I'm finally putting this underneath the spotlight here, but it's extremely smooth, super heavy. Again, this is almost an 11-ounce knife. We have a little lock bar stabilizer on there. This one also, again, I got it like 6 years ago or so. A lot of sentimental value to me because it's affordable. It was like a $20 knife. It is very functional. We have I think an 8CR13 MOV blade right here that has well heat treated. It's just so heavy and it's so cool. It's thick, chunky. I like big old heavy thick knives. I've never had a problem carrying them. This is a cool knife. Again, affordable but very functional. Kind of a novelty knife. It's overly heavy. A folding knife does not need to be this heavy, I don't think. Gerber, moving on, even higher in the quality. Now, Gerber, I've never been into Gerber. Gerber is certainly a lower-end knife company, I think. I don't have a problem with lower-end knife companies, obviously. I just have a problem with a lot of their designs. I was not really a fan of many of them. Lately, they've been coming up with some cooler things. Occasionally, I'll go to Bass Pro or Shields or even Walmart, and I'll see I think Walmart carries them, I don't know, but I'll see their knives up on the wall. Oh, I kind of want that one. That one's kind of cool. $30, $25, that one's $45, but nothing really screams out at me when it comes to Gerber. This one, however, did. The newer design model of the flat iron. I think this is an aluminum handle. I don't really know. It feels kind of like titanium. I think it's aluminum. Who cares? But I love cleaver folders. I love cleaver blades. This is just a really cool knife. I like the lock bar stabilizer on there. I love the pocket clip here. I love the stonewash finish. It's a very beautiful, awesome knife. And again, this one's pretty affordable. I think around $35 range or so. You can choke up. Really awesome knife. I love knives like this. So it's just one of these knives. Occasionally knives just scream out at you, you know? You may not love the company or anything, but you see a knife like, oh, I want that one. It's not even that expensive. I gotta go get it. That's what this was. Gerber flat iron. I have reviews on all of these knives, by the way, except for one. One of these knives I have not reviewed yet. And then that one, of course. And I'll tell you what it is. The Kershaw OD2. wow, this knife has been longer. This knife has been with me longer than any of these other knives right here, I think. Maybe one other one has, but this one has been with me for so long. This one and the MX, like, no, I think this one may have also. This Kershaw OD1 and then this MTech right here are the only knives I've had for the longest time. I think since 2013. Wow, it's been a long time. I was younger, but this knife, I don't think they make it anymore, but it was like 17 bucks at this time. Really cool. It has what's called the overdrive mechanism right here, which is a little switch that moves down 90 degrees in order to open up the blade 180 degrees, and I have it tightened down just a little bit too tight, so I have to give it kind of a wrist flick to open it up. But normally when you have it a little looser, which I should put this in, there we go, it opens up without any wrist flick movement required, despite also being a flipper and despite being so small. And that's a really big feat. I'm surprised Kershaw has not used this overdrive mechanism since. They also used to make the OD1. This is the OD2. Sorry if I said OD1. I'm not going to edit this, but I probably already screwed up the name. Really awesome, really small EDC folder. It's tip up. It's really simple. They have a G10-like pattern on this FRN scale right here. It's a mini version of the OD1, which is a frame lock, which had G10 scales. I would really like to get my hands on one of those, but they're expensive now because they're no longer being made. But I got this knife so long ago and I fell in love with it, and it's still one of my absolute favorites ever. Love the Kershaw OD2. Even though it's nothing really special, it's super special to me. It's affordable, it works very well. I like the overdrive mechanism there. I love it. Absolutely love that knife. And I'm not a huge Kershaw fan, except for the next three Kershaws you're going to see right here, because I'm not a huge fan of their assisted knives. I don't like assisted knives very much. I've had a lot of bad experiences with assisted knives, particularly cheaper and more affordable ones, like a lot of the Kershaws happen to be. But, you know, occasionally Kershaw makes some stuff that I do like. Speaking of which, the Kershaw Chill. It's like a bigger version of the OD2 almost. It's also a liner lock. It's slim. I like the G10 scales. I love this thin old slim blade shape right here. It's long. Despite being an EDC knife, it's also a very adequate defense knife, I believe, as well, because you have so much to work with. You have a big old choil and a guard right there. These knives are very affordable, at least back when I got them. I don't really remember what they are now, but very simple. I like this pocket clip right here. It's just one of my favorite knives ever, despite being so simple. Really love the Kershaw Chill. It's a very great all-around knife. Excellent, excellent blade. Kershaw Nerve. Moving on to a big old chunky knife. This was given to me by one of my best friends. Love the G10 scales right here, although they don't really have like a sandpapery pattern. They have a different type of pattern on here, which is also grippy in its own way. Love the cutouts right here. I love how thick the knife is. Love this blade shape. It's a little odd. It's kind of like a modified modified spear point. I don't know what the hell you'd call that, but it's different. But I really like this blade shape a lot. I actually like the thumb plate on here. Tip up carry, really like that, although it's not swappable. Well, it is swappable to dip down, but it's not a lefty-friendly knife, unfortunately, as far as the pocket clip goes. But I like how chunky, and I love chunky knives. I like slim knives, but I really like chunky knives. One of my favorites. It's just a knife that I just carry over and over again. I have pretty much no complaints about it. I really like how it's hand-filling. Overall, very good EDC knife. Really cool. Now, this one I just got today in the mail. I looked up about a week ago. I started looking up knives again because I go on and off with knives. Sometimes I look up what companies have to see what's new, to see if there's anything that jumps out at me. And then sometimes a really long time goes by and nothing happens. But recently I found a handful. I got a few more coming in the mail. A few more I'm eyeballing. This one I saw from Kershaw. I was like, oh! I instantly thought of Cold Steel because look how huge it is. Huge knife. Huge knife. This is the Strata XL from Kershaw, baby. They also make a shorter version, which is also still a really long knife, but this is an affordable knife. You can get these for about 75 bucks. I scored this one for 68. Big old frame lock flipper. It's really slim, too. For such a long knife, it's really slim. That's pretty cool. Love the blade shape right there. It reminds me of the Cold Steel Voyager clip point series, the older model anyway. I love these copper bolsters right here. That's a really nice touch. They also act as a lock bar stabilizer. This isn't a review. I have to review this knife soon, but wow. Absolutely awesome. Thank God some other companies are stepping up to the huge knife game. So, anyway, instant favorite of mine from Kershaw. Who would have thought? Now let's move on. We're going in order here. CRKT. Actually, this should be more like this. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to start with the CRKT Directive. CRKT is a knife company I really like. They're not like my favorite company or anything, but they collaborate with so many different designers, and you never know what you're going to get from CRKT. Kershaw, a lot of their knives kind of look similar for the most part. You know, Cold Steel's knives tend to look kind of similar. Spyderco especially, their knives are very similar. But CRKT almost doesn't have their own style. They kind of just do whatever. They have completely random designs. The CRKT Deviation was one of my favorites. The CRKT Fossil, I had that one a really long time ago. Kind of regret selling those things. It was years ago, but those were some favorites of mine. Very unique knives. This is an example of another very unique knife. The CRKT Directive. Very good. I like the thumb... What do you call this thing? Brain dead. Oh man, it's really late. It's like 2:45 in the morning right now. Hang on. The lanyard hole right here is very interesting. I like the cutouts. It's a thicker knife. I like the backspacer right there. I like the blade shape. I like I could choke up on it. It's a really cool overall kind of odd knife, but it's a very good EDC blade. Not much else to say about it. The flipper's very good. Affordable. You know, just one of those knives I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. I want one. Kind of future-y looking, so I got it. And right here we have another nice CRKT, the Buku. Heck yes, it's almost like a kukri shape. I love the stainless here. I'm usually not a fan of stainless knives, but this one's beautiful. I love the blade shape. It's like, again, double recurve right there, or single recurve rather, and it's two-toned. We have stonewash finish on the handle right here. I love the pocket clip. It's so classy and beautiful, and again, affordable. I got this for like 40 bucks or something, 38 bucks. Don't remember what they cost now, but yeah, it's a frame lock. Love frame locks. It has an internal stabilizer in there. The screw is holding it in, so you can't make the lock bar go past the handle at all, although you can't see it. It has the IKBS ball bearing system, so it's extremely smooth. Every knife should have that thing. Oh man, this knife's beautiful. One knife I did have from CRKT was the Tielight 2. It was a Tonto, it was a spiky and lightning-y looking. It had the ball bearing system in there as well. But I gave it away to a friend of mine for his birthday. Long story, but that was one of my favorite knives, but I just decided to give it. When your cup is full, it is time to pour. That's what I like to say anyway. Another old favorite of mine, the CRKT Foresight. When this came out, I was blown away by it. Love the way it's shaped. I love how smooth it is. I love the curve on the... Oh man, it's just a beautiful, sexy knife, and it's huge. It's thick. There's a lot of to hold on to right here. It's extremely comfortable. I like the pocket clip on there. I love the IKBS ball bearing system on this one too. It's one of my favorite knives. I remember I saw Cutlery Lever's review on it all those years ago, and I fell in love with it. I had to get one of my own, and I got one, and then I sold it, then I bought another one, and then I sold that one years ago, and then finally, like a year ago, I bought this one because I missed it, and here it is. So there you go. Beautiful knife, one of my absolute favorites. Speaking of favorites, got this one recently, the CRKT Golf. Kind of reminds me of the Cold Steel Recon 1, which is this guy right here. It's a thick knife. The G10 is very simple design. It looks like a big old heavy-duty combat knife to me. It's so simple. Love the black stonewash finish on there. I like the thumb studs, the jimping everywhere. Oh, it's just one of my favorite knives ever. Instantly fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. It's just so cool, and I like how you can use a flathead to tighten the tension on there. It's so simple, but it's just so effective. Absolutely love this knife. One of my favorites. Instant favorite. The Boker Nano. Again, another present from one of my friends. Beautiful knife. Beautiful little utility knife. I like the jimping on here. I love these cutouts. The pattern on the G10 right here. I like how they're colored. It's bright. It's beautiful and just kind of cute looking, but very effective and very functional as well. It's a little slow, you know. It is a frame lock, so it's stronger, but it's not a defense knife or a tactical knife by any means. It's a utility knife. But I like, it's very nice looking. It's very friendly. It's a very friendly, cute little knife as far as its looks go. So, really cool knife. I love this pattern, by the way. Love that. Nice pocket clip, too. Really cool knife. Love it. One of my all-time favorites. Probably my top 5 knives ever. Oop, again, kind of tight for a flipper, but the Boker S2. Again, instantly fell in love with this guy as soon as I saw Cutlery Lever's video on it all those years ago. This huge blade and the stonewash finish and the skinny handle. I like the abrupt corners and turns. It's very technical and industrial looking. I like the cutouts right here. The pocket clip is beautiful. Reminds me of the Kershaw Skyline pocket clip. Another knife that I wish I held on to. Bought one years ago, sold it for whatever reason, traded it. Can't remember, it was so long, but this is still one of my favorite knives ever, and this happens to be the special edition orange version. I got it for maybe like 20 more bucks than the original, or I think I got it in the knife trade. I can't remember, but this one happens to be, I think, Blade HQ's. I can't remember. This is 248 of the 600 that were ever made. It's a special edition of one of my favorite knives ever. So I think I'm going to go out and buy a black one, just in case before they discontinue this thing, because I absolutely love the S2. One of my favorite knives ever. It's just beautiful. So cool. So cool. Speaking of one of my favorite knives ever, another Boker. Moving on to the Dark Holo. Wow, I have a history with this one, but this one's beautiful. It's weird. It's ugly, but it's beautiful at the same time. It's so cool to me. It's just so crooked, and these are hard to find. They're discontinued now. I bought this when it was discontinued years ago. Now they're even more difficult to find. They're at least $100 if you do find them. It's a big old chunky monkey frame lock. Oh, it's so cool. The only thing I don't like about this knife is that it doesn't have a lock bar stabilizer. Not that that's that big of a deal, but whatever. It's thick, it's chunky, it's heavy, it flicks out very easily, and the edge is actually very short in comparison to the rest of the knife. You can almost fit 3 of these edges almost throughout this whole blade, but that makes it more legal. You have a lot to hold on to, you have more reach, so as far as defense goes, this is a very intimidating, tough folder. It's very hard use. It's so bizarre looking, and I absolutely love this knife. Absolutely love the Boker Dark Holo. One of my favorites. By the way, I forgot to mention the company, Boker. Boker's kind of all over the place too. They're kind of like CRKT. Look at these 4 knives. They look like they weren't even made by the same manufacturer. That's what CRKT's known for. Boker's, I don't even know how to describe Boker. Like, most people don't talk about their knives that much, but occasionally they come out with winners like that. So, moving on. The Lightning OTF. It's an OTF knife that's double action, meaning the action that deploys the blade also retracts the blade. These are cheap. They're like $30, $35, $40 at the very most, and there's different colors, there's different blade shapes, and you get serrations on them. They're just cheap double action OTF knives, and that's what made these very popular. I just had to get one. Oh, uh-oh. What happens when you do that with your knife? You just flick it. I gotta clean this thing. It's been a long time, but not a huge fan of automatic blades and assisted blades, but it was cheap. It's OTF. I had to get it. And it's orange, so. Sweet knife. Cold Steel, probably my favorite knife company if I had to pick one. We gotta open up with the Cold Steel Recon 1. Got this one maybe 7 years ago. Again, Recon, I've been through a lot of Recon 1s, bought them, traded them, sold them, bought more, and sold those, and this one is not the newer model with the new blade steel. I think CTS BD1 is what Cold Steel has upgraded to a few years ago. This is the original AUS 8A blade steel. So it's the older model. It's not as good, but it was affordable. It was like $50 to $60. You know, it's lightweight for its size. It's long. It's got a super strong locking mechanism that absolutely one of my all-time favorite knives ever. Very well used. Love the Cold Steel Recon 1 series for sure. Love the G10 handles here. Oh, this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. One of my all-time favorite knives is the Cold Steel Recon 1. I've been through so much with this guy, and I love that Tonto blade shape right there too. Speaking of the Cold Steel Recon 1, we have the OG Cold Steel Recon 1. That's right. This is from over 10 years ago, I believe. The original Recon 1 plain edge Tonto blade. This is one of my favorite knives ever. Love the blade shape. I love how simple it is. The Ultra Lock. If you're not familiar with this guy, it's basically their copy of the Benchmade Axis Lock. I don't know if they lost the patent or what happened, but at the time I think Cold Steel was allowed to use it. It's a little different from the Axis Lock, but essentially it's the same thing. It's side actuating, it's fast, it's strong, not as fast as the Triad, or not as strong as the Triad, but it's still a very strong locking mechanism. Not quite as ergonomic, it's not as slim, it's a bit heavy, it's got steel liners in there. Apocalypse is lower riding. So basically the new Recon 1, new, I mean like 10 years ago new, it's slimmer, it's lighter, and it's a little bit more covert, but it's honestly just a little bit more slow. Lockback knives are slower than side actuating locking mechanisms. This is one of my favorite knives ever, and I scored this for a really cheap price. I think it was like $70 I won the bid for, but these are normally at least 100 or so if you find them. Most old model Recon 1s and most old model Cold Steels are becoming more collectible. In fact, they're getting really expensive now. They used to be like mildly collectible. Now they're starting to actually go up in price, especially the plain edges. Yeah, you look up Cold Steel old model, you'll find tons and tons of serrated knives that nobody wants. And then you'll occasionally find the plain edge, and they just skyrocket in price. Everyone wants the plain edges. I have a whole other video I can talk about serrations. I'm not a huge fan of those things for many reasons, but after many years of searching and after having the clip point blade and the spear point blade of the old Recon one having lockup problems and crappy versions of the old, I finally found an almost near mint condition, well, not near mint, a good condition, old style Recon one in the exact blade shape I wanted. Tonto, plain edge. One of my favorites ever. So glad I scored this guy. Still looking for the old model AK. Cold Steel Spartan. This is their newer Spartan. Got this like a couple of years ago. AUS 10A, they upgraded from the AUS 8, and instead of a bead blasted finish, they have a stone wash finish. Thank you very much. Not only do I think that's more beautiful, it's also my favorite type of finish on a blade, and it's more rust and corrosion resistant. I see no reason not to put stone wash finishes on knives. Absolute classic Cold Steel design. Again, when I was younger, I went through like maybe 2 of these, maybe 3, nah, 2. Bought one, sold it or traded it, bought another one, traded it for something years ago, missed it, wanted it again. That keeps happening. I buy it, and I'm like, oh man, I need some money, or I want to try something new, and then I miss it, and I want it again. I love this handle, I love how it wraps around, I love how heavy the knife is, I love the blade shape, it's just absolutely menacing, absolute classic Cold Steel caveman design right here. I love the big old triad lock. It's just an awesome, awesome knife overall. It's not the most functional, it is kind of cumbersome, it is chunky and heavy, and it takes a lot of space. I don't mind that. I carry knives that are super heavy, but this is the biggest problem. The pocket clip's just too high riding for me for this style knife anyway, so you don't have a whole lot to grip onto when you're trying to pull it out. And, you know, if it was a little bit lower, I have more to grip onto. For a knife like this, you know, having a knife with a pocket clip that's high riding is not a problem. In fact, that's more preferred by most people. But for bigger, heavier knives, I prefer lower riding, if not actually, believe it or not, tip down pocket clips. But either way, one of my favorite knives ever. I'm just so glad I got another one. So, love the Cold Steel Spartan. Cold Steel, moving on, the Cold Steel Tielight 6-inch. This is the XL Tielight, if you want to call it that. I like the 4-inch Tielight. I'm debating getting another one. It's basically designed after the Italian stiletto folder, but it's a fully manual knife. Yeah, I absolutely love the 4-inch Tielight. It just makes more sense to me. This is kind of, it's almost kind of like a ridiculous knife to me for how long it is. And I know Cold Steel makes some huge knives. I'm about to show you a couple more here. This one wasn't one of my favorites as far as the XL size went initially, but I visited one of my friend's houses once, and he showed me his knife collection, and this happened to be one of them. In fact, it was the older Tielight where they had the single holes. This is the newer one, although the blade steel I think is the same. I don't know why they changed the design. But I wanted one when I saw his. I was like, wow, I want a long Tielight too. So that's what I did. I actually really like this knife. Big ol', it's not the most convenient, you know, this style blade. It's basically just good for piercing, and it's not optimized for anything else. But it's cool. It's like a long old spear blade, and they're affordable too, like $50 or so. Damn, for this quality knife. Heck yes, I'll take it. I'm gonna probably get the smaller Tielight now. Just want both of them. Oh yes, the Cold Steel Raja 2, now we're talking. This huge, big old kukri knife. Definitely more functional than Spartan right there, but, you know, Spartan still has its place. Really awesome knife, love the kukri blade. Again, their newer model with the stonewash and the bead blast. Love the texturing they have on the handle right here. Big old heavy knife, got the triad lock. Absolutely, absolutely heavy duty, huge knife. There's a lot of different positions you can hold it in. About $90 or so when I got it, so it's not too expensive. Oh nice, a lower riding giant pocket clip. That's exactly what you would want for such a huge knife, especially one that you can snag out of your pocket and open it that way. Again, another huge, amazing Cold Steel knife, classic design. And I like how loosely the blade, they designed it so well. Some people would say that is a design flaw, or there's not much of a detent. Well, first of all, you're not going to have a detent, obviously, because it's a lockback design. But this is what you want. You kind of want a loose opening when you can snag it open. That's kind of like the Cold Steel Raja 3, which is like the mini version of this knife. You'll have the same problem. So it won't be very easy to flick it open without much wrist movement, but you can wave it off of your pocket very easily, which is kind of the point. One of my favorites. I love huge XL folders. I don't know why. No, I don't think I'm compensating for something. I'm not sure. It could be a subconscious thing that I'm not aware of, but I like huge XL size folders, which is why I got this guy. This Kershaw Strata XL. The moment I saw it, I almost just bought it just by looking at it. Beautiful. Oh, I love those XL knives. I just think they're cool. Anyway. Cold Steel Espada large. Now this knife's over $200. It's probably going to continue to go up in price, but it's, I think, the most beautiful knife that I own. Huge blade, very beautiful. It's got a, oh man, I think this is S35 VN blade steel, baby. Gotta clean this guy. So not only is it a huge, ridiculous folder, but we have a very, very high quality blade steel on here, which almost makes it redundant. Like, would you use a blade steel like that on a knife this size and this shape? Probably not. When it comes to defensive knives, I picture cheaper blade steels, because defensive knives, you know, you sharpen them, you strop them, you get them in good shape, and you put them away into your pocket until you need them one day. I kind of like how they put a really high quality blade steel on this knife anyway, because it just skyrockets its value and just makes the knife more valuable and even more beautiful to me. These micarta, I can't remember. I think I said they were micarta in the video, but somebody corrected me or something. I can't remember. And we have aluminum bolsters right here, I think. I got some of the specs wrong in the video, but it's one of my favorite knives ever. It's expensive, but I think I got a bonus from work or something. It was a little over a year ago. I just decided that it's a knife I lusted after for years and years. I decided to just pull the trigger on it, because why not? I never buy super expensive knives. I decided to just get it. Absolutely love this guy. Oh, I keep bumping into the shelf right here. Yeah, really cool. I'm considering getting the G10 Espada, but I feel like it's kind of redundant if I already have this one, so maybe I'll get the XL G10 Espada. I don't know. Still debating on it. That's another thing about collecting knives, you know. You can either buy like 3 or 4 affordable knives, or you can buy one really expensive knife. Which one would you rather do? You know, I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, ending things with cold steel. This is a very affordable knife, but a very strong experimental folder of theirs, the Cold Steel Pocket Bushman. Again, a knife I got years ago, traded it, sold it, or did something with it, and just recently I bought another one because I wanted it. It's so affordable, and we have a very one of the strongest locking mechanisms in the world, if not the strongest locking mechanism in the world. The RAM safe lock. It's like a virtual fixed blade with that thing. Pocket clip is swappable to the left side. It's fully ambidextrous. It's like a makeshift fixed blade that fits in your pocket for outdoor bushcraft work. And I like how it's very simple and it's very affordable. It's like something that belongs in everyone's collection as long as you like interesting knives. So, really cool. Just because it's so cheap. That's going to do it for all my folders, except I have a few more I got to show you that are in another spot. I started collecting the Cold Steel old model Voyagers recently. Here's the medium Tonto. Found one in very good condition right here. These are getting more and more expensive as time goes on. These original Voyagers are not adjustable. They're pin construction, but the pins don't really loosen out on you because it's a solid piece of metal. It's not multiple pieces of metal. That being said, I still prefer screws more than pin construction. I think pin construction is kind of outdated now, but regardless, this is the medium Voyager. Really cool VG1 blade steel made in Japan. Very super lightweight. This is an amazing utility knife. Also a good defense knife if you must. Again, huge fan of the Tonto blade. Then after that, I scored. Oh, here we go. Large size Vaquero. It is serrated. Not really digging that serration pattern right there too much, but for this style blade, I think it's fine. Also scored this in very good condition, just like the other one. Went through a handful of other old model Voyagers, but ended up selling and trading some off because wasn't really digging how the quality was. Speaking of good quality, we have the large size Tonto. There we go. These are getting more and more expensive. I really like the quality this one happens to be in as well. I don't carry these very much. They're some of my favorite knives ever, the old model Voyagers, but you know, they're just, I don't want to ding them up. That's the thing. It's unfortunate, but some of my favorite knives ever, just like collecting them. Maybe one day they'll really skyrocket in price, who knows. And then we have the XL Tonto. So I have both I have the medium, the large, and the XL. Here we are. Very good quality again. Amazing, amazing knife for the money. Back in the day, anyway. These days are more expensive, but again, we got a VG1 steel. These are very lightweight, kind of more medium duty knives versus the new Voyagers, which are more like heavy duty. Still really cool. Amazing. Love these guys. And of course, we're going to end this whole video off with the Cold Steel Voyager X2. Huge knife. Probably the longest knife. No, it is the longest knife I own, I believe, as far as folders go. Plain edge. Thank you very much. It's hard to find these in plain edge and good quality. Crap right there, I gotta clean off. But sweet knife. It's hard to find these in good quality. If you do, they're usually around $200. Probably going to keep going up in price because more get destroyed, more get scuffed up. So I'm glad I got this guy right here. So anyway, that's it. That's pretty much, that's about like 85% of my knife collection. I got some fixed blades and other knives floating around, and utility knives and knives some friends gave to me. As far as ballast songs go, I got this one at a gun show. Kind of a cheaper blade, but it's actually pretty nice for the money. It's got actually a spring latch on here. You know, got more ballast songs and stuff like that, but I'm not going to show you absolutely everything. These are my main duty knives right here that I carry almost all the time. So there you go. That's my knife collection. I sold one of these guys, so I figured I'd just whip the camera out before tomorrow before I ship it. And that's it. Thanks for watching.